My family, everyone I know is devastated over this. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
It's not the Canada I grew up in, and I really don't understand why anything like that happens to begin with. I mean, what a person's religion is their own personal thing. It has nothing to do with anybody else.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن آياته خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف ألسنتكم وألوانكم إن في ذلك لآيات للعالمين.
It actually bothered me. I cried a little bit, so, right, thinking about the young lad and stuff, and how do they tell him that his family is gone? To learn and realize that everybody's the same. They just have different religious views, and religious views don't mean they're a bad person. It just means they think differently than you do, right? But that's what Canada's about. We're supposed to be diverse.
It's absolutely devastating. It's horrific. It's too much hate. You know, we should be about love, acceptance. Our community should be surrounding our fellow everybody. We don't. This isn't what we're about.
We say first and foremost to young fellas that we are your family. Everybody here is your family. Everybody here wearing a shirt, holding up a sign, here to march, here to pray. We are your family.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, reminds us, unto every one of you, we have given a different law and a different way of life. And if God had so willed, He could have made you all one single community. Medea 48. This makes it absolutely clear, my siblings, that different religions are a part of the divine plan. The diversity and the goodwill of the people of this community are not a challenge, but a gift from the Almighty.
So Wallahu Alam, Muslims historically have been around for 1400 years, and Muslims come from countries that are actually quite diverse. Muslims live around people from a lot of different ethnic and racial backgrounds and different religions as well. For Muslims, living with people from different backgrounds and integrating with them and learning their cultures and being a part of their lives and getting along with them has been a part of the Islamic experience from the beginning of Muslims being around. So I feel like it's not very different for Muslims in London, Ontario, or in Canada, or anywhere in the West. Muslims by nature want to be a part of any society or community that they're living within. They like to participate, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want others to, they also like and enjoy being a part of other people's lives and their experiences too. And I think Muslims have over time, especially over the last maybe 2 or 3 decades, have grown an ability to ignore or kind of fade out a lot of the background noise of the racism and maybe the systematic approach of hatred that occurs, which didn't exist probably maybe 4 decades ago. Like, if you, historically speaking, Muslims weren't really in the spotlight of being the group that are seen as evil, maybe in the last, except in the last maybe 2 or 3 decades. And Muslims over this time have kind of learned to kind of just ignore a lot of that and just continue to move forward with that. And it's a part of our faith to persevere and to continue to strive towards being the best we can be and to be a part of the communities that we're a part of. So I don't think it's not surprising to me, or I don't think to any Muslim, that regardless of how Muslims are treated anywhere in the world, they continue to try and be a part of their communities and societies and contribute and participate and try to show the best that they've got. So I think Muslims in general try their best to perform outreach to their own Muslim counterparts within societies and to non-Muslims that live around them. We try to do better. I think a lot of the responsibility lies on the leaders within the Muslim community to help work together towards a common goal of reaching our larger Canadian society and making sure that they are aware of who we are and what we believe in, what we do, and that they are comfortable with us and they understand us and that they are welcome to come to our centers and be a part of our lives. So I think there's more room for organizations, for sure. There's more for us to do in terms of involving our larger Canadian society. But I feel like Muslims do a lot of that. I've been here working within these fields or within these realms for the last 10 years or so, and Muslims do quite a bit in terms of reaching out to non-Muslims and going to churches and going to synagogues and being a part of general gatherings and bringing their narrative to the table. But yeah, I do believe that there's especially within the climate, the political and racial climate that we're living through right now. Over the last 2 years, Muslims have actually really expanded their scope of work with the larger Canadian society through Open Doors events. There's been at least a triple or quadruple the number of Open Doors events in all the masajid, all the mosques that exist in the city. Things similar to educational days and Islamic booths that are put out in certain places in the city. The soup kitchen, for example. I think really the biggest impact that Muslims have when it comes to that is their presence within every field of life. Like whether you go to a hospital or you go to a school or you go to a mall or wherever it is that you go, you're going to find Muslims active. They're there. They're a part of management. They're a part of leadership. They're a part of the daily activities. Muslims being there, practicing their Islam, women with their hijabs on and men with their traditional physical appearance, taking their time for prayer, kind of just behaving as Muslims. I think that's what Muslims have done most over the last 2 years. We've kind of broken out of our shell a little bit. Muslims don't hide their Islam as much anymore because I think that there was a certain aspect of that maybe in the years prior out of maybe bashfulness or just general politeness. But I think Muslims have realized that doing that makes it difficult for non-Muslims to actually recognize what it means to be Muslim and what Islam actually is. So I feel like looking around just in schools and universities, the Muslims are much more vocal about who they are. They're much more open about who they are. And I think that's actually much more, has more impact than anything else that we could possibly do, because really people don't necessarily pay attention to the small acts of outreach that could occur, or even the large, well-organized acts of outreach. But they will recognize a co-worker or a colleague or a student or a teacher or a boss or an employee, someone who is with them on a daily basis, who is Muslim, who is practicing, who is open about it, and that gives them access to understand who the person is and maybe the ideology behind them. And I think that's probably what I would say is the biggest change I've seen around me, and I hope that continues to be the case, because that's probably the best way to fix this.
The Muslim Soup Kitchen started in 2019, And this is when a member of the Muslim community, his name is Mir Saib, he approached many people in the community, representatives from the different organizations, and he stated that he wanted us to do something collectively, have a service for the needy in a collective manner. So all of our organizations pooling in and working towards that. And so we had meetings. We tried to figure out the funding piece, and then on December 25th, Christmas Day, we launched a Muslim meal service at my sister's place. And again, we had volunteers from the different organizations, and we had nice meals come in, and we distributed that at my sister's place. And then we continued with that collaborative effort for the next few months at my sister's place. And then the same gentleman, he proposed that why not we try to do something at one of our own locations. And Hayat Mosque is located in very close to the core downtown area of London, and this is where you may find more people in need. And it was very strategically and very located in a very accessible area. And so we had meetings, and we looked into how to proceed. And that summer of 2020, we launched the Muslim Soup Kitchen. And we decided to do it on a weekly basis. And of course, when you're doing something on a weekly basis, you have to figure out, how are we going to support it? So of course, there's the funding piece, and then there's also the volunteer piece. You need people, you need money, and that was worked out in the meetings. And we said Bismillah, and we launched it, and we also, of course, were in communication with the Middlesex London Health Unit, and we had our service placed on their calendar, and that's what allows people to know where the meal programs are being offered in the city. They have a calendar, and so the location Hayat Mosque was placed every week on Saturday at lunchtime at 1 o'clock. And so that's how people in the city knew that we were open and ready to serve a meal to them. And that's what we have been doing since the summer of 2020. Every week on Saturdays at 1 o'clock, from 1 to 2 o'clock, we serve a warm, nutritious meal to anybody who stops by. And now, for now, we've been doing this for 2 years, or over 2 years now. 2021, and now 2022. We're near the end of 2022. And so we have a fairly regular clientele. And these people, they become, we know them, they know us, and a nice relationship that we have with these people that access our services, men, women, and even children. And they look forward to getting the meal, and we look forward to seeing them. So currently at the Muslim Soup Kitchen, every week we are supporting approximately 150 people. When we started at about 110 meals, and gradually, as we saw the need, we've increased the numbers. And we've also appealed to the mosques and the centers that support this initiative to increase the amounts they contribute towards the project, because of course with rising cost of inflation, rising food prices, and of course the rising need, we have been we've been trying to do that and ensure that we have sufficient meals for the amount of people that do approach us every Saturday Hayat Mosque to be able to get that meal. And this project is supported, as I mentioned, by the different mosques in the city. So the London Muslim Mosque, the Islamic Center of South West Ontario, Muslim Association of Canada, the North London Islamic Center, the Bosnian Islamic Association, and I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. But these are the mosques and centers from our city that are supporting this project and providing an annual amount that helps sustain it. And of course, then we're very blessed and very fortunate to have volunteers and also donors. And sometimes these volunteers are donors. They'll see that, oh, okay, we're low on water or juice or cutlery, and they'll donate those supplies. And of course, any kind of monetary donation is always very much appreciated, because that goes directly towards the meals that are handed out. This is all through volunteer work and through donors that we're able to make this happen.
The Muslim Soup Kitchen that happens every Saturday, there are a lot of people who are in need for that. Low-income people, homeless people, everybody. And I think this is a great idea for a lot of people. I think, well, you can get one of the best meals in London from the Muslim Soup Kitchen, and you're never hungry afterwards you have it. In fact, I find that this soup kitchen is more generous than most of them. And I'm just hoping that a lot of other organizations see this, and because I think this is a great model of something people should be doing. This kitchen here helps out the people a lot until we can figure out how we're going to be able to do a lot of this stuff, like the affordable housing and affordable food. It's like everybody's going through that, but there are some people who are very limited income, who are below the poverty level, who are in need of these programs, as I see it. It does help the people who are volunteering and the people who are poor and all that come together, and they can share information. They show that people actually do care. That's what a lot of people who are going hungry or homeless, they feel that people don't care about them. They're known as the forgotten few. And this way, it does show them that there are people who do still care out there. The more programs, especially from different cultures, if there's programs there to help people, I highly encourage it, because there's not enough, like I said, there's not enough programs out there. As a 58-year-old person who generally lived most of my life in London, to be honest with you, they may say that there's a lot, but there's a lot more that is needed. And I believe the Muslim community themselves not only help out, but they take it an extra 2 steps forward, a lot better than what programs are out there already. And I think there are programs that are needed out there.
The reason we participated is that the two communities that have the same goal is to help those in need, right? To go out in the community and help those in need. We decided to partner with the Hyatt Mosque when we found out they were giving out a meal every Saturday, and what we were doing through the winter was giving out winter wear as well. We do it 3 times a year, so we decided to partner with them on one of their Saturdays to get out winter wear while they were serving the meals, and that's kind of how we got involved. Muslim community, it's very active in the City of London. I'm more familiar with what comes on here at the Hyatt Mosque. I am not affiliated with it, or we haven't worked with any of the other mosques in the areas, but I do believe they want to be part of the community very much and help as many people. I do hear news stories that they're out there helping people on a regular basis, and they just want to be part of the community, and I really enjoy being part of that too. I believe the two communities that we're from, the two religions coming together and helping everybody is a way to go. It's an awesome thing to do.
My one recommendation is, even if your thoughts towards Islam are negative, we encourage you just to give it to read into it more, to give it a second chance, and hearts do change. I know some people who used to absolutely despise Islam and Muslims, but over a period of years or months, because they saw the how the Muslim community acted and how good their morals were, their hearts changed after some time.
So I think probably the biggest problem that Muslims, generally speaking, face when they want to reach out to other societies or want to put together programs or try to come up with service approaches for Muslims who are underprivileged or just underprivileged people in general. I think the biggest challenge that we have comes from the general outlook that exists towards Muslims within the West, and I think that's something that we have come to understand the origin or the root of. I think after 2 to 3 decades of a specific image of Muslims within the media that has been perpetuated so many times that it's hard for non-Muslims who don't have any other experiences with Muslims or don't really have the knowledge or the background. They tend to shy away or be a little bit cautious or scared or uncertain whether they want to be a part of our society or community, whether they want us to be in close contact with them, whether they want to welcome us into their workspace or into their places of worship or into their schools or into their businesses or whatever it is that they're doing. And I think it comes from that. And we as Muslims have come to accept that, or we understand that. Really, Wallahu alam, the actual effort that needs to be put forward is to try to change that image or change that stereotype that has been built, and that requires, I think, the efforts from a lot of different people. I think the Muslim society and the Muslim community at large, they carry upon their shoulders a specific amount of that responsibility in representing Islam and explaining Islam to others and outreaching and reaching out to others and trying to include them and trying to actually go take Islam to them or take the experience of Islam to them so they understand it. But I think there's another chunk of that responsibility that lies upon the larger Canadian society and the government and the media as well, where recognizing that there has been a misrepresentation of this group of people for a number of decades that has affected how people view them, how the larger Canadian society views this specific group of people, and not recognizing that or acknowledging that, and acknowledging the effects that this has had on them and has on their experiences is a problem that, unless it's fixed, will just continue to happen. So I feel like there's two problems here. I think Muslims themselves have to kind of reach out a little bit more, but I do strongly believe that there is a systematic problem within the country that we live in, both from government and from media and from the larger Canadian society, where there has been a misrepresentation that they're aware of, but they're just not willing to do anything about. And it's just kind of left, and we can't imagine that that's going to happen without there being consequences upon the people themselves, which are, in this example, are Muslims, and their experience and their willingness to be more open. So I think that it's a dual responsibility issue.